Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Tessa Murphy-Romboletti. I'm the president of the Holyoke City Council. I'm joined by Mayor Joshua Garcia and City Treasurer Rory Casey and members of our City Council and state delegation. And I just want to thank all of you for being here today to discuss the upcoming special election on January 28th, 2025. There are several folks who wished they could be here today from the City Council, but we all work full-time jobs, so they're not able to be here. I want to first emphasize something very important. We're not here today to tell people how to vote. The reason that we're here today is because we think it is our responsibility as city leaders to share perspectives and explain why we believe this change is important for the future of Holyoke. As others will say today and have said before, this proposal aligns with recommendations from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue and is a broader effort between all branches of our government to modernize and strengthen our city's financial practices. What makes this effort unique is that it actually has the unanimous support of the City Council. There are not many issues that we agree on completely, but this is one of them, and it's something that we believe is important for the public to consider. We're not in favor of this change because we want to take away the will of the voters or are seeking to gain power. This is a practical solution that will take the politics out of municipal finance, ensuring the best governance for Holyoke. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the decision lies with the voters, and we do respect that wholeheartedly. As municipal positions grow in responsibility and required skill sets, we believe that appointing the city treasurer ensures that the position is filled by someone with the necessary financial expertise and experience to manage the city's complex financial responsibilities. This is about good governance, plain and simple. This change does not exist in a vacuum. It will complement other ongoing efforts to improve the operations of our city's finance departments, which you will hear about shortly. And furthermore, these changes are not unique to the city of Holyoke. Communities across the Commonwealth are turning to appointed positions rather than elected to attract a wider pool of candidates with strong credentials and relevant professional experience. Everyone here today believes that it is crucial to make a unified effort to inform the public that first and foremost, this election is happening, and provide as much information as possible so voters can make an informed decision. We know that life can get busy, but the choice to change this is before the voters, and it is a significant one. So we are all asking you to please do whatever you need to do to remember to save the date. We encourage you to do your own research, reach out to any of us with questions, and come up with a plan to exercise your right to vote on Tuesday, January 28th. Now I'm going to turn it over to our city clerk, Brenna Leary, to just give a brief overview about the election itself. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Tessa. Madam President. As the President said, my name is Brenna Murphy-Leary. I am the City Clerk and also the Registrar of Voters. And I am also here with the Assistant Registrar of Voters, Jasmine Acevedo. As the Council President said, the day of the election is January 28th. The last day to register for that election will be January 18th, which is a Saturday. The last day to vote by mail, we are accepting applications now. We are mailing out ballots now to vote early through the mail. Will be at 5 p.m. on January 22nd. We will not have any in-person early voting for this election, just the early voting through the mail. And then if you would like to vote in person, absentee, if you have a religious reason, you will be out of town that day, you can come into the office and vote absentee up until January 27th, and that deadline is at noon. And polls will be open as if it was any regular election day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. All of our polling locations will be open throughout the day, and yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. So as you've heard, we're here to inform all of you, members of the public, of this very important event, a special election for January 28th. During this election, the voters are going to have an opportunity to vote on whether the position of treasurer, as you heard, should remain elected or the role should transition to being appointed. Currently, the city treasurer is elected by our community every 4 years. However, there is no requirement for these candidates to possess specific financial expertise or a solid understanding of municipal finance. The lack of qualifications hinders our city's ability to tackle complex financial issues, and it leaves us vulnerable. By reviewing previous annual audits over the last decade, members of the public can conclude that a lot of the material weaknesses are in the treasurer's office. It's the reason why the Massachusetts Division of Local Services, through the Department of Revenue, has consistently recommended to the city that we change the position of treasurer from elected to appointed. Now, the heart of our work is a commitment to protecting public funds, safeguarding local assets, adhering to financial standards and regulations. And for the past 3 years, in collaboration with our city council, we have initiated a range of financial and administrative reforms aimed at modernizing our practices. These changes are designed specifically to enhance efficiency, accountability, expertise in our city government. So with that being said, yes, voters understand the choice is yours one way or another. And my viewpoint, as you heard, shared by my colleagues in government, and why we have a strong support to put this out to the voters, we believe that changing the role of treasurer from elected to a position that's appointed is one that's vital in our ongoing efforts. This change is going to help us strengthen our internal controls and support our initiatives to improve financial reporting, streamline operations, and implement advanced financial management systems. Transitioning to an appointed treasurer is crucial to move forward toward these enhancements so that we can get them successfully executed. If voters choose to retain the elected model, the city treasurer will continue to be chosen through municipal elections, and the duties of the treasurer's office will remain in the hands of candidates solely elected by the people. Either way, the decision is up to the public. Whatever members of the public decide, the important key we want to communicate here to everybody is to make sure that you are aware of the special election scheduled for January 28th, and that you talk to your neighbors and make a plan to vote on that day. And I do want to just give a quick, we're going to introduce our current city treasurer, a big just thank you for stepping up into this role when it was put up for an appointment by the council when the seat became vacated. He specifically came in, and I'm sure he'll probably share the story, but he came in and he's shared actually, he's been a great partner, very knowledgeable, but he had a clear goal to make sure that he helped with this transition. And so it's been 2 years in the process making. Certainly want to thank our state representative as well. It's a charter change, and so we had a petition to court to get support from the legislatures to get this question on the ballot, and obviously signed off by the governor. So thank you to our state representative and the legislatures and our governor for standing by and being supportive as we as a community try to figure things out and do things better. With that being said, I'll introduce now our city treasurer, Rory Casey.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, and thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Madam President and councilors, Madam Clerk, and especially Representative Pat Duffy and her counterpart in the Senate, John Velas, for getting us to this point. There's an election in less than 3 weeks. It was only signed off by the governor a few weeks ago, which is why we're in such an accelerated pace. This is not a normal election cycle. We don't normally in Holyoke go out in the dead of winter to vote for anything. This year is different, and it's different for 2 reasons. The first is that I'm currently the elected treasurer, and my term ends at the end of this year, along with other elected officials. There's an election this fall, and we need to know now what the direction is going to be. Do voters, is there going to be somebody running on for the ballot for treasurer, or is there going to be an appointment? And that's why we're trying to make this decision now. I know there's been a lot of questions about why now, why not wait? And that is the why now. The other question that I really want to address, and I'm going to get into a little bit deeper, is why do we want an appointed treasurer versus an elected treasurer? Is this taking away the will of the public to be able to decide who they want to be treasurer? And the reality is this: the city treasurer is very different than a city councilor, a school committee member, a mayor, or a clerk. The first day I took office, I was handed the keys to $200 million. $200 million. I'm the only person authorized under city charter and state law to have access to that. If I want to go spend it this way or that way, sure. Am I going to violate some laws? Is that? Absolutely. There's laws in place, but nobody can stop it. We've had issues in this office for decades. Decades. One of the first things I did upon taking office was start reorganizing and cleaning out. I found newspaper articles from the 80s about scandals coming out of the treasurer's offices in the city of Holyoke. This isn't new. This is something that's been an issue for a very long time. The citizens vote for their elected officials. They vote for their councilors. They vote for their school committee members. They vote for their mayor. They vote for their clerk. They vote for their treasurer right now, and they're essentially entrusting them with so much responsibility that I don't think it's really truly understood. When the city charter was written, the treasurer had two responsibilities: to have a fireproof vault to keep all of the money in, and to sign checks. If that was the job responsibility today, elect them all day long. The job responsibility today is managing millions of dollars of taxpayer funds. It's all coming in electronically now. On a weekly basis, we are under attack by phishing scams. We are under attack by other types of nefarious actors that are trying to access taxpayer funding. We need to have protections in place. If we don't have a treasurer with proper credentials who's held accountable, we're going to, at some point in the future, have a real disaster on our hands, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So those are the reasons why. I want to be very clear about that. This is something that's going to help the city in the long term, but right now, as of today, whoever the treasurer is entrusted with that on their first day in office. The other thing I'll mention is we've had, in the last 5 treasurers that were elected, 4 resigned early, resulting in 4 special elections that were uncontested. This isn't a position that's fought after. There aren't a lot of people interested in this position. We have healthy elections for state rep, senator, council, mayor, clerk. People are interested in these roles. They want to do it. Being an elected treasurer is almost unheard of in many parts of the state. In fact, when you look at all 351 communities in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Holyoke is the only one that still has a standalone elected treasurer. We're the only ones. Small towns might have elected boards of health and elected treasurers and elected assessors. That works for them. But in cities like Holyoke, with a $196 million budget, with hundreds of millions of dollars in assets invested, we're the only one with a standalone elected treasurer. The mayor has no oversight over the treasurer. The council has no oversight over the treasurer. So that's my message to the people of Holyoke, is that if you really want to have control over the city's finances, entrust the elected officials that you've put into place already, the council, who will make this appointment, the mayor, who will oversee the day-to-day operations of this office. If you want more information, you can go to a website that we've put together, that I put together, yes, on the number 1-28.com, and there's a lot of information, a lot of frequently asked questions that has more information about this, the need for this. It links to all of the articles that the mayor mentioned. This is a recommendation the state's been making for close to 15 years that we do this. Our outside auditors have been making this recommendation. This is the path for Holyoke's success. It might seem like a small thing, but it really is the first domino that's going to help Holyoke achieve the goals we really want to achieve, and have the foundation that we need to in order to be the community that I know we all work day in and day out to have. So with that, I know that any of us are able to take any questions that the public might have, or the press. Yeah.
Hi, Jill Kaufman, UGM.
Hey, Jill. Yeah.
What is the cost of the election in January?
We had about $30,000 transferred into our budget. I don't anticipate we'll spend it all. I'm guessing it's probably going to be somewhere around $25,000.
And just to follow up on that, it's January, as you said, nobody goes out to vote, nobody goes out to do much when it's cold and windy. You are concerned about voter turnout, I imagine. I don't know if that's very minimal.
Unfortunately, I think that the voter turnout will be on the lower side. That's why I think it's important that we're, getting the word out, doing these kind of things, spreading it on social media. But I do anticipate it to be on the lower side. But that also goes along with preliminary elections, municipal elections. They're usually on the lower side anyways. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I know you said you're doing it now so you can have it ready for the elections in September, but what made you choose January as the time to do it?
We didn't. The legislature did. And I'm not saying the legislature did that in a vacuum. That was something that was decided on because of timing. The reality is that, it couldn't go on the last ballot. It couldn't go on the presidential ballot because it's a local question of this nature. And so looking at the calendar, looking at the dates, looking at when the clerk needs to release nomination papers, this was the date that looked like it would work best.
Hi, James from WAMC News. Is there any way of knowing if anyone's taken out papers for the treasurer position for this coming year? If there was an election in the fall.
I don't want to speak for the clerk, but papers aren't available yet. But what I will tell you is this. I was appointed when the former treasurer left. I was appointed by the city council. Okay, so there's precedent. I stepped into that in the hopes that this would have been resolved sooner. I said 12 to 18 months. I was appointed in September of 2022. I think my math skills aren't great, but I think we're beyond that. Okay, I took out papers. It was an election year. Councilors were on the ballot. Other people were on the ballot. I took out papers, but I waited because I wanted to see, is anybody going to step up? Does anybody really want this job? I had the city clerk texting me, reminding me that I was the only one that took out papers and that the deadline to hand the papers in is in about a half hour. So if you have the papers, it would be very nice if you got them in on time. But here's the scary thing. Here's the real scary thing. Let's say I didn't hand in papers. Let's say nobody handed in papers. Let's just say nobody was interested in this position. Then what happens? It reverts to a write-in. Then we're talking about who gets the most votes. Mickey Mouse? It's happened in Holyoke before in small ward races where it ended up being a write-in because, there wasn't enough interest, small, maybe a city council, or school committee race that I can remember in Ward 2. And I think the person that won that race they received 10 votes or 11 votes. Yeah. It was 5, yeah, it was 5. It was 5. My point is this, that's what's on the line right now. You're not going to have a mayoral election where nobody's showing up. You're not going to have a city council race where nobody's showing up. You're not going to have a citywide school committee race, right? A citywide race for a city treasurer entrusted with so much could be left to, did the guy down the street or the person over there just get a couple more votes? Nobody, just who's best friends at the pub, write them in as a joke. And they end up with the keys to $200 million. That's what's on the line right now.
Thanks for joining us, Murphy-Romboletti, because I was curious about, you talked extensively about material weaknesses.
Yeah.
I was just curious if you could allow some examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some great documentation, both that has come out from over a decade of annual audits. Each year, the city has to have an audit done by an outside auditing firm. The State Department of Local Services, which is a division of the Department of Revenue, has come in and done 3 different financial analysis at the request of the mayor and the council over the years. And the Inspector General, which is essentially like the office of the state that, they're looking for if there's trouble happening at the state municipal level. They've issued 2 pretty scathing reports about the treasurer's office. So some of the material weaknesses that we're talking about is, as the elected treasurer, I have no job hours. I could just not show up and I still have to get paid, and it doesn't matter. I don't have to be there. That's one of the things that's cited. There have been treasurers in the past who have not shown up, treasurers in the past who have tried to take second jobs in addition to their work as treasurer. But some of the other material weaknesses are because there's no requirement for any kind of financial training or accounting background, people walk into this role, and if the support staff aren't there, right, and we shouldn't always be relying just on support staff. As a department head, they should know how to do the job of all their support staff, but they walk into the role, they don't know what to do with bank accounts. They don't know what to do with how to wire funds. They don't know or they wire funds they weren't supposed to, or they put money into the wrong account, or they send it to the wrong person. We have had money be wired fraudulently because people have fallen victim to these phishing attacks through no fault of their own. I mean, innocently. But this has happened. These are the types of material weaknesses that get cited. If we don't have a professionalized operation in our treasurer's office, in our financial offices, we're setting ourselves up for failure. I mean, if you look at our assessor, you look at our tax collector, you look at our auditor, all of those positions require at least some basic level of education or certification that needs to be required. Our chief procurement officer, which is another financial person, it's written into their job description when they're hired. Within a year, you must get this certification. You must maintain it. There's nothing like that. These certifications exist for municipal treasurers, but there's nothing saying that the municipal treasurer in the city of Holyoke has to attend or has to go. So all of those things lead to the same results time and time again. We're late on filing our audits. Our credit rating is at risk. We're not able to borrow money when we need to. We're not able to have the proper cash flow. Checks bounce. These are the types of things that happen over and over and over again. And when you read these reports, it's not pointing at one individual. It's pointing at systemic issues within the office, right? Because I'm talking about a time range when we've had, 5 different, really 6, if you want to go back long enough, elected treasurers, where these issues, it's like Groundhog Day reading some of these reports. I mean, it's the same things over and over and over again, and we're never going to get out of it if we're not able to professionalize this office.
Just to add real
Yeah.
quick too.
Which way you going?
Just on the website he announced, and it will also be on our SETI website, hopefully by the end of the day, is a Q&A. And in that Q&A are links to each of those audits that identify the material weakness. So if you want to refer to that, and because it's much, much more extensive
Yeah.
and broader than what he explained, although you did a good job.
Thank you.
All the reports from the three that he mentioned from the DLS, and then probably about 10 plus years of annual audits that identify the material weaknesses in the treasurer's office.
You had one more? Yep.
So let's say this is voted in.
Yeah.
It would be up to writing on these qualifications.
Yep. So here's the great thing. There's already a job description kind of written into the city code. There's a job duties. This is what the treasurer is expected to do. This is it doesn't speak to specific qualifications, right? The council at their most recent meeting has started that process in order to get in front of, what may be the result of the election on the 28th. But again, it doesn't matter what's in the code right now, right? It doesn't matter that, and I mean, it's quite extensive. These are all the job duties of the treasurer. These are all the things the treasurer must do. Now, if they don't do it, who's going to write them up? Nobody can. And so that's why we can have the best job description, the best qualifications. We have some already on the books. It's not going to take much effort for the city council. And again, thank you for already starting that work to get this done. But unless we change it, it really won't matter. Jill?
Sure, I'm not taking hot.
Yeah.
Can we hear more about the process of appointing, if this goes forward, appointing a city treasurer? And I don't know if this is the mayor, who is on the short list, if there is a short list?
Well,
And is Rory Casey on the short list?
I'm not. No, in fact, I will say this. Most politicians, and I mean, I did run for this office, so I'll put myself in that category. Most politicians would stand up in front of a group of voters and say, please hire me. I'm a little bit different. I'm standing here in front of the voters saying, please fire me. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but it's true. I have no interest in being the appointed treasurer. I want that to be very clear, because that question has come up as well. If this were to pass, the way it's constructed right now is the elected treasurer, me, would remain in office until the end of the term. It actually, I think, says the first Monday in February of 2026. At that point, the city council will appoint a treasurer in accordance with the charter the way it's written. So the same way the tax collector, the assessor, and the auditor. And if Madam President wants to elaborate on that at all about the process.
I think you did a good job handling that, but I guess very similarly to what we do for the other financial department heads, we work closely with the personnel office. The position itself would be posted like any other job. And then the city council would interview folks and vote on the candidate that had the best qualifications. And then, similarly, like we were saying to the assessor's office and the tax collector's office, the city council is not responsible for the day-to-day management, so that would fall under the mayor. So
appointed is not, it's the word used, I mean, like the sheriff is going to be appointed by the governor, but it's not quite, somebody does have to apply for the job.
yes, folks still do need to apply, and then it would be down to a city council vote.
Yeah, and just it would be for a 3-year term. The way the law is written in the change would be for a 3-year term. Any other questions? Okay, so I guess the final message from all of us is just get out and vote on the 28th, please. Get out and vote. Go to the website, go to the city's website, give a call to any of us. All of our contact information's on out there as elected officials, and we'd be more than happy to talk with folks about this. It's probably the most important thing somebody could go do on January 28th of 2025. So thank you.
Thank you, everybody.